Guys, I have many of you asking for the current measurement cable, and I have a cable available. I will do the quick demo how it's working and what you can do. It can be used with a standard multimeter and is not linked to any brands. It's just using standard connections like a Deutsch connector or the timer connector, and it can be used with different manufacturers. So it could be used with Booker valves or Eaton valves or hydro valves, and it's just to measure the current, and at the same time you can measure the voltage and the resistance of the coils. Okay, so idea is when you're doing your diagnostics, you use the cable to check the connection to the coil, check the resistance, check the voltage and the current. And I will do the quick demo on the cable how it's working, and if you want to order it, just email me. I will leave the email in the description. I have a first batch delivered. It's not a big batch, but I know many of you were asking and said let's make them up and we're gonna buy it in. So I said why not to try. So let me do a demo now. So cable looks like this. So on the one end you have 3 connectors to go on the multimeter. The other end is the timer plug. So this plug can be used on the drive valves or boom functions. It just depends on what machine you're working on. And then you have this Deutsch connector. Okay, so either way you're measuring current on this type of connector or that one. So I will just swap them over now, so just to show you how it's converting. So you just separate those connectors and just plug it in like so. I can do it with one hand, but let me try. Yeah, so you connect them up here, so that now you have this sort of connection to measure your coils. So it could be like a boom functions. Let's say this coil has this sort of connector, so it's just depending on the make and model of the valve blocks. Okay, and I will show you now with the multimeter how it is working. So that's my multimeter, and most of the multimeters has a 3 port. So the red one goes into red here for a voltage, resistance. Yeah, so you have a voltage, resistance. Black one is gonna go to the ground. It's a common. Okay, and green and yellow is gonna go into amps. That's a current measurement. Okay, so now what I will do on this machine, I'm gonna connect to this coil. That's a Eaton valve, Atlantic fluids. Oh, not the Eaton, Atlantic fluids actually, sorry. So I will connect onto this coil, and I will show you how we can test that coil. So I disconnect the plug from the coil. So now my setup is the Deutsch connector. So I'm going to plug onto the coil on a coil wire. So that's your feed to the coil. So that's plugged in, and the next end goes into the coil directly. So let me connect it there. All right, so that's all connected now, and we're reading resistance now. So multimeter is on to resistance mode, and that's measuring 3.5 ohms, which I think is a bit low. That's maybe issue with the coil, because the coil here, if you look at the parameters, it's 12 volts and 20 watts. So 20 watts, that should be about 7 ohms resistance on it. So it could be actually that coil is bad. But let me try another one, because that's the same spec coil. So I wonder if this is going to be same resistance. So I plugged in onto this coil now, and that's actually higher resistance. So this is more like it. Yeah, so it's 20 watts on a coil, so you should have about 7 ohms. So I'm gonna test that. So I think maybe that coil is actually bad. I'm not too sure actually. I haven't tested this before, so we may just found a bad coil on it by accident. So I'm gonna switch that on. I'm gonna set this to the volts now, so I don't need to change these cables or anything. I just changing the setting on the multimeter, and now we're gonna do the volts. And I'm just gonna press a enable button. So I'm gonna press a green button here, and that's gonna show me the voltage to the coil. Okay, so now we have a LED on one coil, second coil, and we know that we're getting 12 volts to that coil. Okay, so we testing the voltage under the load, so the coil is connected and the load is provided the system to measure the voltage. If we want to measure the current, we go into current mode, and then I do the same. I'm gonna press enable button, and now we have the coil is taking 1.7 amps. Okay, so the really good use for that cable is that with the one sort of connection you can test 3 different parameters and you can maintain the load on the system. So a lot of times when you disconnect the coil, you may gonna struggle to find issues with it, because when you remove the load from the system, let's say the voltage drop is not so high, or things like this. Okay, so that's one example. Next example would be connecting on a function, for example, using the timer plug, and then measuring the current while you're using the boom function, and then you would be looking for like proportional currents or things like this. I mean, all the proportional valves, they have the current control, so you can see the stability of that. So as I said, this cable is made in UK, and then if you want to order it, just send me an email and I will come back to you. All right.